You might happen to be in the world. Thank you for signing on. And we are the series of the conscious breath. This is week number 2. Okay, today we will be carrying on to the next practices, continuing from where we were last week. Okay, so we'll give folks a minute or two to sign on, and then we will begin. If you have any questions from last week, feel free to put them into the chat room, and I can answer them as we wait for people to sign on. And hello from all over the place, folks from Dublin and Italy, and it looks like someone from India and the Philippines, France, Switzerland. Hello to everybody. Greetings to those in Spain. And Sioux Falls, Dakota, not so far from New York City. So today we're going to be practicing exactly what we did last week as our preparatory practices, and then we're going to move on to some alternate nostril breathing and some other ratios of breathing as well. A lot of super interesting stuff. We'll be entering into the, some of the different practices for balancing the branches of the nervous system, for creating higher or deeper levels of calm, focus. We'll be doing pranayamas today that have been said by the Yogis and shown also in Western science to have a positive effect on brainwave function and on cardiovascular health. So a lot of cool stuff and very simple as well. Okay, so I think what we can start doing now is we can begin to move into our preparatory breathing practices. So please sit comfortably. Oh, hello, Peter from Kenya. Please sit comfortably. You can sit on the floor. You can sit on a cushion or a pillow. You can sit on a chair. If you are bedridden for any reason, you can do all these practices sitting in your bed. So these are accessible easily for all people. And once you get yourself comfortable, you can either close your eyes or you can gaze gently down towards the floor. And the first thing we're going to do is simply bring your awareness to your breathing. That's step number 1 when we begin doing the pranayama practices. Simply bring your awareness to your breathing and feel the breath coming in and out from your nostrils. And try to avoid breathing through the mouth if at all possible. If your nose is severely blocked, you can take a few mouth breaths every once in a while, but really try to keep the breath moving through the nose as much as possible. Spanish subtitles, yes, I think we can work on that for you. I'll talk to the gentleman who takes care of all of our live streaming and see how we can make that happen. Okay, so just bringing the awareness to the breath. And noticing that as soon as you move your awareness to your breathing starts to shift a little bit. As soon as we observe something, that thing we observe begins to respond to the way that we observe it. So shift your awareness to observing your breath in a very gentle, calm manner. And you'll find that the breathing naturally gets a little bit longer and a little bit deeper. And now with your awareness on your breathing, begin to enjoy the sensation of the breath. Enjoy the act of breathing. We said last week, we're going to enjoy the act of breathing the way we would enjoy our favorite song, listening to our favorite song, or being out in nature, or smelling our favorite scent, tasting our favorite food. Enjoy your breath the same way you would enjoy any of those other sense experiences. So the act of breathing becomes pleasant and enjoyable. Okay, next we're going to bring our hands to rest on our abdomen. You can place your right hand on your belly and your left hand over your belly. Or if you prefer, you can put your left hand on your belly and your right hand over your left. And for about 1 or 2 minutes, we're going to breathe, feeling the abdomen moving as we breathe. And as we inhale, the abdomen is going to come out a little. And when we exhale, the abdomen comes in. Okay, of course, we don't have lungs in our belly. But as we breathe in, the diaphragm is pushing down on the visceral organs and the belly is moving out a little. And as we exhale, the diaphragm is going back up and the belly comes in a little. So in any smooth, even manner, you don't have to count how long you're breathing for. Just breathe comfortably and freely. Feel the belly moving. And we'll do that for about 5 breaths. The belly doesn't have to come out super far. Even if you just feel a gentle movement in the belly, that's fine. Good. Okay, now we're going to take our hands and we're going to move them to the sides of our body, and we'll bring the hands right up towards our lower ribs. So I'll just tilt my camera down a little so you can see that my hands are right on my lower ribs. Right there. Okay, so this is my waist, and here are my ribs. And now I'm going to breathe into my lower ribs. And I'm going to feel my hands spreading out a little bit as I inhale. And I'm going to feel the ribs coming a little together as I exhale. And as I inhale into my hands, I feel my ribs spread a little out to the side. And exhale, the ribs come a little in. Okay, and we'll do this for about 1 minute as part of our preparatory practice, warm up to the pranayamas. And what this is doing is activating the diaphragm to expand out to the sides as we inhale and exhale. Okay, so this is just activating the full expansion of the diaphragm as it attaches to the lower ribs. And this can give you great power in the strength of the breath. And so now, begin to articulate that movement of the ribs by breathing a little bit more into your palms, and see if you can spread the ribs a little wider as you inhale. Articulating the motion of the ribs and then exhaling, letting the ribs come back down. Okay, good. Release your hands down onto the knees. Okay, we're going to do one more preparatory practice. And this is a new one from last week. And now what you're going to do is you're going to inhale high up into your nasal cavity where your sense of smell is, the olfactory nerves. So you're going to imagine as you're breathing in that you're smelling the scent of a rose or of sandalwood or of jasmine or your favorite scent, your favorite type of incense or perfume, whatever it might be. So take a moment to breathe high up in your nasal cavity. Imagining you're breathing in the scent of your favorite smell. I'm imagining a rose. And notice how when you keep your breath focused in the nasal cavity, the breath automatically elongates. You're not thinking about your lungs, but the breath automatically elongates. And the feeling in the skull is that it expands a little bit as well. So we have a direct line of brain cells that come out from the brain, out from the skull, into the olfactory nerves in the nose. that connect back into the olfactory bulb in the brain, which sits near the hippocampus, which processes memory, and also other areas associated with states of consciousness. So breathing high into the nasal cavity, we are stimulating deep brain structures just as we breathe into the nose. Okay, so let's do one more preparatory practice. Put your hands back on your lower ribs, please. Inhale high into your nasal cavity and see if you can feel your ribs moving out to the side as you breathe into your nasal cavity. So you're breathing high up into the nose, imagining you're smelling your favorite scent, and feel your ribs moving out to the side at the same time. See if the ribs move even a little bit more now. Feel that connection between the ribs, the diaphragm, and the nasal cavity, near the olfactory nerves. One more like that. And exhale. Great. Rest your hand on the knee. Sit quietly for a moment. Check back in with your breath. Okay, and let's open the eyes. Okay, so let me know if you could feel what you felt when you breathed high in the nasal cavity. If you felt your breath was getting longer, if you could feel your ribs moving longer, just put a yes or a thumbs up or a 1 into the comment section. And if you had any problems, you can let me know as well. Just give a little bit of feedback so I know if we're moving in the right direction. Okay, so last week, what did we cover? We covered the meaning of pranayama. These are the practices that we're doing. Pranayama are ancient techniques that use breathing to increase our vitality and energy. These are practices from the Hindu tradition and from the yogic traditions. Yoga indeed is a vast dialogue of philosophy and practices that have been going on for thousands of years. And it exists within the Hindu tradition. So all of these practices I have learned from my teachers in India, as well as some experimentation on my own. So it looks like this was working for people. This is nice to see. Excellent. We have a yeppers, which I believe means yes in plural. So pranayama, this is basically 108 lessons in pranayama is what we'll be covering over the next few weeks. The word prana means vital energy, and it also means breath. Ayama means to control or to expand or voluntarily direct. So pranayama is the voluntary expansion of our vital energy through breathing. And breathing is the most direct physiological activity that we can directly control. So our heartbeat, for example, if our heart speeds up, we can't directly control our heartbeat unless we're very advanced yogis, but we can use indirect things like we can tell ourselves to calm down, or we can do some slow breaths, and that will calm the breath, calm the heart. Our digestion, if we have poor digestion or our digestion is off, we can't directly control the digestion, which is a physiological activity, by saying to our digestion, hey, get better digestion. What we have to do is we have to change our food, eat at the right times, change our eating habits, and then we indirectly affect the digestion through changing those habits. But the breath we can just start with straight away. We can exactly control and change our breathing pattern without having to do anything indirect. And since breathing is a function of our nervous system, by controlling or directing the breath, we directly access our nervous system. And that's an important thing to do because our nervous system, number one, is a vast communication network, which is organizing all of the information flows and all of the communication between every single cell in our body, of which we have 37.2 trillion cells. And our nervous system is also organizing the communication between our body and the world, the external environment that we live in. So, for example, we have an area of the brain right above the soft palate called the suprachiasmatic nucleus. And what this nucleus is doing is monitoring the movement of the sun, so that when the sun rises, our body is told through the circadian rhythm that it's time to wake up. And when the sun sets, the suprachiasmatic nucleus signals to the pineal gland, which releases melatonin, and then we begin to get ready to go to sleep. So we have deep structures in the brain which are in tune with the movement of the sun and the moon and the stars and the cycles of nature and everything. So this is how our nervous system, one example of how our nervous system is working in conjunction with the external environment. So by controlling and balancing our nervous system through pranayama and through exercise and enough sleep and proper diet, we are bringing ourselves into tune, in harmony with the world that we live in as well. So that is the basis of all of these practices. And now there's one other thing which is important too, which that our nervous system plays a very important part in our changing mental states, and it's tied into how we perceive ourselves and the world. So for example, if we have a lot of demands coming at us from work or from family or from the pandemic or economic crisis or political crisis, whatever it might be, we feel all that incoming demand and it causes stress. It causes something called distress, actually. And the way that we perceive stress is going to determine how our body responds to it. So if we perceive every small demand that comes to us as though it's a very big thing, our body will respond to it as though it was a big thing, and we will release stress hormones that will make us feel more stressed out. But if we can learn to manage how we perceive the demands of the world coming towards us, we can then begin to have a measure of control over how our body is responding as well. So instead of our body releasing stress hormones, our body will release hormones that give us enough energy and vitality and enthusiasm to embrace challenge and say, you know what, whatever hardship is coming my way, I have the inner strength and fortitude to deal with it. I can handle this because we've shifted our perception. So when we do these practices, we're also helping to form this sort of intimate relationship with our nervous system to change our stress perception and our perception in general so that the world becomes not a place which is exhausting and stressful and dangerous, but a world that we can exist in harmoniously even if times are challenging. And so this is one of the very important parts of pranayama and all of the yoga practices, to be able to handle hardship with a calm mind, to be able to handle challenge with equilibrium and with calmness and with awareness. Okay, so that's one of the things that we're working on here. So let's go in now to our second week of practices. Okay, let's see if okay, so let's see. Pradeep was a little bit confused about what I just said, so I will make it a little bit more simple, and I will certainly do that, Pradeep. Okay, so basically, Pradeep, what happens is the way that we perceive the world is going to determine how our body responds to it. So if we perceive the world as being dangerous, our body will respond to the world in fight or flight mode, which is part of our sympathetic nervous system. We will either start to be prepared to fight against the world, or we'll be prepared to run away from the world, because that is how we are responding to it. But if we shift our perception to say, okay, the world is a hard place, the world is filled with challenges, but I have the inner strength to deal with those challenges, then our body will respond in that way. And it will release the types of hormones and messages from the nervous system and the endocrine system, which will support our ability to have the energy and the positioning to deal with the challenge. Okay? And so that's one of the things that these practices can help us to do. And these are basic things in the yogic tradition that you read in the yogic texts and that you also read in modern science and in neuroscience and psychology and all over the place. Okay, so Kurt, thank you for that very nice comment about perception and reflection. Okay, so let's move in now to our second week of practices, okay? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do resonance breathing for 3 minutes. And resonance breathing is an equal inhale and an equal exhale, where we inhale for about 5.5 seconds and we exhale for about 5.5 seconds. And through this breathing, we're only going to do it for 3 minutes, but when you do it for longer and longer periods, what happens is the sympathetic nervous system, which is responding to stress, and the parasympathetic, which responds to relaxation, they come in an equilibrium. They come into a balance. And usually they're not in balance. One is expressing itself or the other is expressing itself. But in this ratio of breathing, they come into an equilibrium. Okay? So sit comfortably. You can straighten your legs out for a moment if you need to and then recross them. And now you're simply going to bring your awareness to your breathing. And any of the preparatory practices that we began with, breathing high in your nasal cavity, breathing in the belly, breathing in the ribs, you can do any of those. And I'm going to cue you when to inhale and when to exhale. And if the breath feels a little bit longer than normal for you when we begin, just hang out and be patient with it. Sometimes the nervous system resists a little when you begin to change your breathing length. Try to breathe through the nose as much as possible. If you cannot breathe through the nose completely, just inhale through your nose and exhale out through your mouth. But try to do the nose as much as possible. Okay, 3 minutes. I'll time it. Here we go. Whoops. What happened to my clock? There we are. Okay. So, please inhale a comfortable breath. And exhale. Inhaling. Exhaling. Inhaling. Exhaling. Inhaling. Exhaling. Inhaling. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. That's 1 minute. Now carry on your own and mentally count to 5 or 6 as you inhale and count to 5 or 6 as you exhale. And if you'd like, you can use the sound of Om to count. So you would inhale, Om, 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 and exhale, Om, 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 Om. Inhale, Om, Om, mentally, Om, 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 and exhale, Om, 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 Om. Okay, that's 2 minutes. We'll do 1 more minute on your own. Another 3 breaths. Last breath. Good. Relax the breathing. Okay. And next, we're going to move on to the single nostril breathing. So to do this, you're going to take your right hand and you are going to make a fist with your hand. And you're going to extend your thumb and then extend your middle finger and ring finger like this. So it's a little tricky to do sometimes. So if you just think about putting your ring finger and your thumb together like this. Ring finger and thumb together. Okay? And then if you're able to, you can close those two fingers in. If you can't, that's okay. This is a mudra. Mudra means an energetic body position. And this mudra has several different names. It's called Nasika mudra, which means, Nasika means your nose. It also is called the Vishnu mudra and the Pranav mudra. So there are different names depending on the tradition that you're following. And so we use this so we can close off the nostrils. So when we breathe through the left nostril, you're going to close off your right nostril by pressing right on the side of the nose like this. Don't put your finger in your nostril. Put your finger right on the side. And you'll feel this little edge of the nose right here. You want your finger to fall right into that little dip of the nose. So we're going to breathe through the left nostril for a while. Then we're going to breathe through the right nostril. And when we do that, we're going to take our ring finger of the same hand and put it right in that indentation and breathe through the other side. Okay? Now, you're going to find that one nostril is a little more open than the other. And we'll explain why that happens after we do the practice. So if you have one nostril which is super closed, like for example, say your left nostril is closed, I'll show you what you can do. You either push a little harder on the nose, or you take one ring finger and you just hold your nose open slightly to let the airflow come in. Okay, so you can just hold your nose open a little bit. I'll see like that, and you can let the air come in better. So for people with deviated septums, that sometimes helps as well. So we are going to breathe through the left nostril first for about a minute or two. And then we're going to put our hand down, rest for a moment, and then we're going to breathe through the right nostril. And then we're going to do it with resonance frequency, inhaling and exhaling for 5 seconds. Okay, so the hand position one more time is your right hand. Your thumb is going to press on the right nostril when we breathe through the left. And when we breathe through the right side, your ring finger is going to press on your left nostril. Okay, let's give it a try. Inhale through both nostrils. Place your thumb on your right nostril and exhale. Inhale through the left. Exhale through the left. Do this for 1 minute. I'll time the minute, and you just breathe freely and a little bit deeper than normal, not too deep. Don't panic if you feel like you're getting in less air than normal. Focus a little bit on the exhale. Relax on your inhale. Lengthen on the exhale a little. Relax on your inhale. Lengthen on your exhale. Relax on the inhale. And the last time, exhale. Rest your hand on your knee. Breathe through both nostrils and see if your right nostril feels any different as you breathe. Okay, so Jennifer is asking what the benefit of this practice is. We'll explain that after we go through all the different alternate nostril breathing practices. But very briefly, it's to balance brain hemisphere function, to balance blood pressure, and improve heart rate variability. Okay, so let's take, with your right hand, your ring finger, and place it against your left nostril. Inhale through your right nostril and exhale through the right nostril. Nitu, yes, this is Anuloma Viloma. Inhale through the right and exhale through the right. Okay, just do this on your own, freely breathing through the right side only. If you like, you can direct the breath high up into your nasal cavity. You can also feel your lower ribs moving as you breathe. Just another few seconds and then we've done 1 minute. Good. Release your hand onto the knee, breathe through both nostrils. Okay, you might find that the nostril that you were pressing down on is a little more open now. And so, my Gualida, yes, you will have more difficulty breathing through one nostril. Through the right side it was for you. And maybe after we do some more of these practices, you might find that the right side will open up a little. Okay, so this was our preparatory practice for the alternate nostril breathing. There are literally hundreds of different types of alternate nostril breathing. Today, we are going to do 2 more different types. Okay, so now you're going to choose which side was more open. If your right side was more open, you're going to breathe through the right. If your left side was more open, you're going to breathe through the left. If they were both equally open, then you're going to breathe through the left side, okay? If you have any questions, please ask. And we're going to do this for 2 minutes, which means we're going to take 10 breaths through one side, and then we're going to relax our hand down, and then we're going to do 10 breaths through the other, okay? So here we go. You're going to choose your side. Inhale, and then exhale through your more open nostril. Inhale, and exhale. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Yes, Wanda, breathe through the clearer side. Inhale, exhale. Last one. Inhale. No, sorry. This is 1 minute done. Sorry. Exhale. So that's 1 minute. We're going to do 1 more minute. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Last breath. Rest your hand on your knee. Breathe through both nostrils. Inhale through both nostrils. Close off your opposite side and exhale. Inhale. exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Although if your right side is totally closed, just leave your left nostril slightly open. So you have some breath coming in through the left side. And then that'll just kind of trick your brain a little to think that you're closing off the left, but you still let some breath flow through it. Keep breathing, everyone. And that way you don't feel like you're suffocating. We're at our last breath now. Inhale. And exhale. Rest your hand on your knee. Breathe through both nostrils. Do 2 breaths, inhaling and exhaling, for 6 seconds. Okay, good. Okay, so we're going to do one more practice, which is a practice taught in the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. So the single nostril breathing that we just did, for the next week, you can practice this, but increase the amount of time that you're doing it. So we did for 2 minutes on each side. Try to build up to 3, 4, or even 5 minutes on each side. And you're going to preface it with resonance breathing for 4 minutes, but I'm going to remind you and put this in the comments when we're done. Then you're going to do single nostril breathing. And then to finish, we're going to do an extended breath where we pause at the end of our exhale for a moment. Okay, so this is called Prachardana Vidarana Bhyamwa Pranasya. So inhale a comfortable breath. Exhale slowly. Lengthen your exhale gently. And when you feel your exhale is stopping, just pause. Hold the breath out for a moment. When your body tells you to inhale, inhale a comfortable breath. Exhale slowly. Lengthen the exhale. When the exhale naturally stops, please pause. Then when you feel the need to inhale, please inhale. Continue like this for another 3 breaths. So it's a very relaxed inhale and a comfortable exhale and a very gentle pause at the end of your exhale, and then inhale comfortably. So you're not holding your breath out. You're not restraining the breath. You're just pausing and feeling your body responding to breath. And feel the mind get calm when you're pausing at the end of your exhale. Feel the mind get calm when you pause after your exhale. And then everyone go ahead and relax the breathing. Okay, so so Marisol, you might feel a little dizziness, but you don't want to feel too much. So it's just a little bit of a pause. It's not a holding out of the breath. And Linda, the mouth is closed. And Beverly, this is not three-part breathing. The sutra in the yoga text, which says pracharadana vidarana vyamwa pranasya. This means the extension of your breath and then pausing and holding the breath out. So this is an ancient breathing practice to still the mind. And this is the very basic thing. You extend the breath, you pause, you let the mind get quiet, and then you relax and inhale. So Patricia, I will try not to use too many complicated terms, but yoga, of course, is in the language of Sanskrit. So I have to use some of those terms, but I'll explain them. And then hopefully if you hang out in this course for the next few weeks, the terms will become normal for you. They'll get regular for you. Okay? So this is a really, really important pranayama practice to do, especially if you have some anxiety. This can be very calming for anxiety. It relaxes the nervous system. And this is the pranayama that we will always finish with no matter what practices we do. Okay, so those are our practices for today. I'm going to go now into our discussion for this particular week. Let's see. And yes, this will be saved. You can watch the replay even if you came in late. All right, so there was a text written in around the 15th century in India called the Hatha Pradipika, sometimes called the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, by a yogi named Swatmarama. And in this text, there's a verse pertaining to the breathing practices, pranayama, that says, Chale vate chalam chittam, nishchale nishchalam bhavet, which means when the breath is moving, the mind moves. But when the breath is still, the mind is still. So one of the things we spoke about in our first class was that prana is both breath and mind. The subtle form of prana is mind, and the more gross manifestation of prana is breath. They're two wings of the same bird, or two sides of the same coin. And we also said that pranayama is a voluntary way of temporarily modulating the flow of our breath in order to eventually control the way that our mind is functioning, in the way that we perceive the things occurring in our mind, our thoughts, our emotions, the experiences through the sense organs, and as well to calm down the nervous system. So we can think of the pranayama practices as we're slowing the breath. It's kind of like a speed bump in the road. So when you're driving down the road and you get to a speed bump, what do? You slow your car down or your scooter. Otherwise, if you go over too fast, it's not going to be good for the car. So when you get to a speed bump, you know to slow down. And so pranayama is basically like a speed bump for our nervous system. And you can think about your inhalation as an accelerator. When you inhale, for example, say you're going to jump off, you're going to jump into a lake, or you're going to jump into a swimming hole, and you're high up on a cliff or on a diving board. Before you jump into the water, you're going to take a deep inhale to psych yourself up and give yourself energy before you jump. So this is like an acceleration to prepare us for activity. And then when we are exhaling, it's like a braking mechanism. So when you need to calm down, if a child is really upset and is crying, what do? You tell the child to breathe, to exhale. And so we use the exhalations to slow ourselves down. So we can think about our inhalation as being an accelerator of a car, like our nervous system, and the exhalation is the braking mechanism. So when things are going too fast, when life begins to speed up and we start to get stressed out, It's not that we have an acceleration problem and the accelerator is just pressed down too hard. It's that we have a braking problem and we've lost the ability to apply the braking mechanism. So the initial pranayama practices we're doing are stimulating the braking mechanism of our body, of the nervous system. So, and especially as well, the lengthening of our exhalation is going to reinvigorate the brake, reinvigorate the braking mechanism. And as the weeks go by, we'll begin talking about the vagus nerve and other deep parts of our physiology, and we'll learn more about how those mechanisms are working within the nervous system. But for now, just think about inhalation as an accelerator, exhalation is a brake. It slows us down. So within the Hatha Yoga Pradipika and many of the old yoga texts, there are 8 different types of pranayamas that are taught. And these are the classical pranayamas that have another name associated with them that means a suspension of the breath, which in Sanskrit is kumbhaka. So we're always inhaling and exhaling and with these pranayamas in different ways, but the breath holds are generally going to be of similar variety. So for now, you don't need to worry about that, but you can just store in the back of your mind that a traditional meaning for pranayama also includes the idea of suspension of your breath, which we're not worrying about that right now. All we're doing right now is we're working on ratios, length of breath, the different amounts of rounds of the breathing that we're doing, and the extension of our exhalation and the relaxation of the inhalation. And once we're comfortable with that, then we can think about breath holds, and they come very, very naturally. Okay, so today we learned a new type of practice, which is breathing through one nostril at a time. So why do we breathe through one nostril at a time? We have many, many different patterns in our body. We have different rhythms. We have different types of modulations. And we looked at one in the beginning of the class, which was the sleep-wake cycle called the Circadian Rhythm, which is how our brain is tracking the movement of the sun. So we know when to go to sleep. We know when to wake up. Our body naturally is going to respond to this. So the Circadian Rhythm is a 24-hour cycle. And that's what we follow. Another type of rhythm that we have is called the Ultradian Rhythm. And the Ultradian Rhythm is something that occurs quicker than or more frequently within a 24-hour time period. And so we have many, many different types of Ultradian rhythms. These include the, while we're asleep, the different phases we go through when we're sleeping, like deep sleep and dreaming. It includes our blood circulation, blinking, our pulse, hormonal secretions, our heart rate, our cycles of appetite, and also nostril dilation are controlled by the Ultradian Rhythm. So I think pretty much almost everyone experienced when we were breathing through one nostril that one nostril was more open than the other. And this is called nostril dilation, or the nasal cycle. And so every 90 to 120 minutes, we experience a change in nostril dominance. So our noses, or our nostrils rather, because we have one nose but we have 2 nostrils, are innervated with a tremendous amount of autonomic nervous system nerve endings, our sympathetic and parasympathetic nerves. And they undergo something called vasodilation and vasoconstriction, which means they are going to get, the tissue will get increased blood flow, and so it will begin to feel congested or engorged. And then the other side will get decreased blood flow, so it will be more open. So with a vasoconstriction, there is less blood flow, and vasodilation, there is more blood flow. And the mucous membrane is the recipient of that blood flow, and so that is the thing which is becoming occluded. So this happens every 90 to 120 minutes, it shifts back and forth. So through breathing in one nostril at a time, and also placing pressure on the nostrils, we're stimulating the autonomic nervous system endings within the nose, and these are sending messages directly back into the brain. So we're working with the very outer edges of the nervous system to try to bring balance to it through breathing. The same way we would twist to the right and twist to the left, or bend forward and bend back to bring balance to the body, we can do the same thing to the nervous system, more or less, through breathing through one nostril at a time. So the yogis have an entire science of breath based on nostril dominance. And this is based on the idea that we have different energy flows in our body. We have active energies, we have passive energy, we have heating energy, we have cooling energy. Sometimes we're a little more analytical, and sometimes we're a little bit more, say, intuitive. And sometimes we have more of what some people call a feminine energy, and sometimes more of a masculine energy. So all of these ideas of energy flows are represented through the different sides of our body. And so the left nostril is called in Sanskrit Ida, and it's related to the moon or the cooling energy. And the right nostril is called the Pingala, and it's related to the sun or the Surya, and it's related to our active or heating energy. So breathing through opposite sides is also balancing the energy flows through the sun and the moon, hot and cooling, active and passive, analytical and intuitive, that make up who we are and how we express ourselves. So we take some time each day to balance these energies within us. There's also some evidence in some of the recent scientific literature that breathing through one nostril at a time will positively affect brain function and also can help to normalize blood pressure. The breathing through a single nostril at a time, an alternate nostril breathing, has been shown to heighten our ability to be vigilant, to be aware, to be present, without putting us into sympathetic activation. So sometimes what happens is when we become very vigilant about something, we can we'll move into a sympathetic activation, which means that we can maybe start to feel a little stressed or go into fight or flight mode. And so one of the things about the alternate nostril breathing and single nostril breathing, which has been shown in some studies in India, that it can make us vigilant. It can make us very aware and present without putting us into a sympathetic mode. And so that's very interesting, that we can still be calm, yet vigilant at the same time. There also are studies that have shown that the nostrils are contralateral with the brain hemispheres. So, for example, my right hemisphere, or all of our right hemispheres of the brain, are controlling the left side of our body, and the left hemisphere of the brain is controlling the right-hand side of the body. That's why if you have a stroke, God forbid, on your right-hand side of the brain, you lose the ability to use the left-hand side of your body. And so there are some studies that have shown there is this association with the nostrils contralateral with brain hemispheres, so that if you breathe through your left nostril for a while, you're stimulating the activity of your right hemisphere. And if you breathe through your right nostril for some time, you can stimulate the activity of your left hemisphere. And now, of course, our whole brains are functioning all the time and sharing information, but the way that brains process information will be different depending on the need of the moment. So we're not going to go into what the different hemispheres of the brain do right now, but we will cover that in later weeks. But just for a basic thing for the introduction to this breathing today, you can know that through breathing through one side, you can balance, or let's not say balance, but stimulate the activity of your opposite hemisphere from the nostril. So just imagine that if your left nostril is passive and cooling, it's going to stimulate the passive, cooling, intuitive functions of your right brain. And if the right side is active and heating, it is going to maybe, perhaps, stimulate the analytical or cognitive-based functions of your left hemisphere. Okay, so very generally speaking. The yogis have said one further thing that we're going to talk about today is that asanas or postures, the breathing practices of pranayama and meditation, help to purify or untie the knots that occur in our subtle body. Our subtle body is, well, we have a physical body that we can see. We have a subtle body that we can't really see. and that's how energy flows through the body. It's the body where our breathing is flowing and where our thoughts and emotions and ideas are also existing. So the yogis consider that our mental body is as real as our physical body. And the prana or energy body is as real as our physical body. And in fact, the mental body is manifesting through the energy body, and the energy body manifests through as the physical body. So that and we have knots at different layers. We have blockages at different layers of our physical body, like knots in the muscles, our energy body in the nervous system, for example, our mental body, where we get stuck on, things that have happened to us in the past, or things that we regret, or blame or judgment we have of people, or anger towards things that have occurred in our lives. And we get stuck on these things, and they actually form knots. And what does that knot mean? It ties us to our perception of that thing that occurred. And so through doing asanas, through doing pranayama, through meditating, we're untying these knots so that our breath can flow freely, our minds can flow freely, our energy flows freely, and that our body also feels like it's capable and it's agreeing with us. Our body feels like a place we're comfortable living in. So for example, just as a simple one, when we feel really stressed, we feel tight, we feel constricted, we might get a headache, we might feel blocked, or we might feel stuck. But when we release that stress through whatever means we're releasing it, meditating or yoga or sleeping more or walking in nature, watching the sunrise, when we release the stress, repeating mantras, we begin to feel free and unconstricted again. And then we feel that we can flow again with life, that we're back in the driver's seat. Okay, so just a simple releasing of stress, we feel free, we don't feel constricted again. So this is a very practical way of looking at the idea of knots or granthis that occur in our subtle body. It's not magical thinking. Much of it is very practical, that as we release stress, then energy flows. So when we talk about the knots in the subtle body, that's basically what we're talking about. We're untying them through practices. We're releasing the things that we're holding on to. And when we release the things that we hold on to, then we're back in our driver's seat. Okay? So, earlier we talked about our accelerator being the sympathetic nervous system, and also the inhalation makes us go fast. And the exhalation is our braking mechanism. It helps us to go slow. So when we get control of the braking mechanism and we learn how to slow ourselves down, then we're back in the driver's seat. When we know just how hard to accelerate so we're not going too fast, then we're still in the driver's seat. But when any of those get out of control, we're not in the driver's seat anymore. But we can use breathing and awareness to put us back. Okay? So those are our lessons for today in this 108 lessons on pranayama. And to finish, I'll answer some questions, and then we'll do 1 minute breathing just to center ourselves before we go about our days. So do I have a book that I can recommend? Well, I have to say that I do teach and discuss a lot of these things in a book I wrote called One Simple Thing. And my name is Eddie Stern, so it's One Simple Thing by Eddie Stern. I'll put that in the comments. And so you could take a look at that if you wanted to. And there are a lot of books on pranayama. The best thing to do is pick up some that, and just start reading through them. And you'll find some that resonate with you and others that feel too complicated. Of course, for the philosophical things, you can read any of Deepak Chopra's books. And I am a big fan of reading the original yoga texts. You can, find many of these in translation as well. Okay, so Nicole wanted to know, is breathing helping elderly people diagnosed with low or high blood pressure instead of taking medicine and pills too? I would say that anyone who has been prescribed medication by their doctor should keep taking it. But definitely there are many studies showing that breathing helps with blood pressure. I have one study that I did a protocol for that showed reductions in pre-hypertensive conditions in middle-aged people. And so we did simple yoga practices and some pranayama that helped to lower blood pressure. And you can see there are studies on the internet about alternate nostril breathing that that have shown to lower blood pressure. Okay, so Kuhn, if you feel that your chest hurt from the resonance breathing, what I would suggest is doing very lighter types of breathing. Not trying to do a full 5 or 6 seconds. Maybe start with 2 or 3 seconds on the inhale, 2 or 3 seconds on the exhale, whatever feels comfortable for you. But you certainly don't want to experience any discomfort during the breathing practices. And let's see what else. Yes, BKS Iyengar's book, Light on Yoga, Light on Pranayama, is an amazing book. It's a little bit complicated, but tremendous information is in there. And Anne Marie, I will be here next week at the same time. So I'll do every Friday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that will be the timing for these classes. Michelle Keene, just let me know which phrase you want me to spell, and I will. Okay, let's see what other questions there are. Oh, Ann Davis, so breathing through the right will help you with the math test coming up. And I saw one study that was produced by a woman named, I think it was David Shanahoff Kulsa and a few other scientists, that showed that breathing through the left nostril for extended periods helped with cognitive abilities. And they did simple, not math tests, but they did number counting, forwards and backwards, and other types of number counting. So they found that, and it was like, 27 times breathing through the left nostril 4 times a day for several weeks or something like that. And that was helping to improve cognitive ability. So I have seen a study that said that. I'm not terribly good at math. I have not tried it on my own. So I can't say for sure. But try it and let us know. So Marisol, the the left hemisphere is considered to be analytical, logical, quantifying, and measuring. And the right hemisphere is said to be intuitive and seeing things in a holistic manner. But, the hemispheres of the brain are connected by the corpus callosum, and they're processing all of the incoming information that we have, but they're responding to it in different types of ways. Okay, so Duo, after a heart surgery, your breathing is disturbed by non-rhythmically beat, so breathe out feels flattering. If the breathing out I'm not too sure what you mean flattering. If you're still on, let me know if it feels uncomfortable or comfortable, and we can talk about that a little bit. I also have a genetic heart condition too, and I've used breathing a lot to help with my heart condition. Okay. Okay, so it's okay. Can these exercises be done by epileptic patients? I do have some students who have epilepsy who've used resonance breathing and other pranayamas to help balance the information flows of their brain. I don't know exactly how to put that, but yes, it has helped them. These are very safe practices. If you feel uncomfortable in them, then of course you should pause and you should stop. You never want to put yourself in an uncomfortable position. Sometimes the nervous system is going to resist a little when you start to change your breath. But if you can relax and just keep at it, sometimes you might find after a minute or two, everything becomes comfortable. So, and if after 2 or 3 minutes, nothing becomes comfortable, stop, rest, and then you can try again with slower ratios, or just wait a day or two to try again. Okay, yes, this is the second session. The time of the class, Gina, is 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So 1 hour earlier from now, wherever you are. And it will be every Friday. Emma, for patients who've had a stroke, you should do any of these practices under the guidance of a doctor or of a certified yoga therapist who is familiar with these types of things. Just take a couple more questions. Monica, what is good to nourish the liver for, in regards to breathing? Well, our diaphragm, which cuts through the center of the body, our liver is attached to the underneath of the diaphragm on the right-hand side of the body. So if the diaphragm is here on the right-hand side of our body, our liver presses right up above it here. And it's quite a big organ. So when the diaphragm is moving, the liver is getting massaged. So that's why they say in Chinese medicine that as you breathe, the diaphragm massages the liver. So just long, deep breathing is good for massaging your liver. Okay. Seppi Day wanted to know, how could open the closed nostril by putting more pressure on top based on what you said? Okay, so if you have one nostril which is closed, so for example, my left nostril quite often is a little more blocked. So what I do is I hold up higher on the, instead of holding down lower here, I hold my finger higher towards the cartilage, and I push the cartilage up of the right side a little. And that opens the left side a little. Or sometimes what I do is I'll put my other finger right here at the tip of my nose, and I'll just hold the nose open slightly to let more air flow in. That's only if it's really blocked. Rita wanted to know if I could show the cover of my book. I would be delighted to. Okay. This is the cover of my book, forward by Deepak Chopra. Okay, so it is 12:37 in New York. Why don't we call it a day? And we'll do 3 breaths together. Fia, I would recommend doing resonance breathing after an asana practice. You can do it at night to calm down, and you can also do it before you practice as well. Okay, so we are going to stop now, and any questions that I did not get to answer this time, you can save them for next time. Okay? So thank you all very much for joining this class. It's a pleasure to see all of you here. And let's see, Seppi, it's available, the book is available on Amazon. Okay, so let's all sit together, and let's sit straight. We're going to breathe 3 slow, deep breaths together. Inhale comfortably. Exhale slowly. If the breath naturally pauses, just let it pause. And then inhale when you're ready. At the end of your inhale, if there's a little pause, let there be a pause there. And exhale, elongating the exhale a little. A relaxed inhale with a natural pause. And a slow exhale. And then relax the breathing. And open the eyes. Okay, so I like to finish all of my classes with a short prayer. So if you would like to join me, we'll say it in English. This is an ancient Sanskrit prayer, but we'll say it in English. Please repeat after me. May all beings be happy. May all beings be free from disease. May all look to good in others. May none suffer from sorrow. Om, peace, peace, peace. thank you all very much. Have a wonderful weekend. The homework for the next week is 4 minutes of resonance breathing, followed by 2 minutes of breathing through your left nostril, 2 minutes of breathing through your right nostril. And then doing 3 breaths of extending the breath and exhaling, holding the breath out. Okay? So that is the homework for the next week. 4 minutes of resonance breathing, 2 minutes through the left, 2 minutes through the right, and then between 3 to 5 breaths of extending your exhale, feeling that you're pushing on the braking mechanism of your nervous system. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful weekend, and I look forward to seeing you next week.